Baby, how are you? My name is Betha, and welcome to Caplio, where I do readings for strangers on the internet. Today, we're gonna do a July prediction. I don't know, I'm feeling spunky, I'm feeling like trying something new, which I know is scarcely warranted because, believe it or not, I'm actually recording this only like a week in advance this time? God, this is different. Anyway, Mercury retrogrades around the corner, and I thought, let's play around a little bit. So in front of you here, I have our three options. If you are new to Pick a Pile readings, all I need you to do is choose whichever of the options that I show you feels like it resonates or feels like your intuition is guiding you to. If none of them feel like they resonate, do not force it, babe. This reading might not be for you at this time or might not be for you at all. I do have a catalog of other readings on my channel if you'd like to go check them out. But without further ado, let's present the options today. And I'm going to let you know, of course, I got a little song message with each of them. So I will be telling you the song message as we're going through the options. So we have this little gold wave ring here as our first option. And the song that goes with that is Zombified by Falling in Reverse. We have this little mood ring, who right now wants to be on this little green-blue color twirl here. And the song for this one is going to be E-Girls Are Ruining My Life by Corpse. And last but not least, we have this little red crystal ring. I do wear her so frequently. And the song for her is I Want to Be a Boy by Addison Grace. Like I said, don't try to force it. If anything fits, you'll know. It'll click. And if that you've already chosen your pile, then without further ado, go to the timestamps in the description below, click on whichever pile resonates for you, and we will get right into the reading with some predictions of how July may unfold. Hello, gorgeous. If you chose pile 1 or this little gold wave ring, then this reading is going to be for you. To reiterate, we are going to get into some predictions of how July may unfold. Also, your song message is Zombified by Falling in Reverse. There might be some signs, symbols, synchronicities, or something in there for you if you'd like to go check it out. I will link it in the description below. But I have these 3 Soul Journey Oracle cards in front of us today. That's what they're called, right? Soul Journey? Yeah, they're like these lesson cards. And I figured we could start by doing a little what's July gonna teach us before we get into the predictions. So each of the categories that I want us to delve into today are career, spirit, and social/romance. I'm doing social/romance because, you know, for the singles out there that say, fuck it, I don't need anybody. For the asexuals out there that are like, hey, I'm not into that sphere. And for the people that are just like, I'm sick of hearing about couples and relationship bullshit. This is also a social aspect because that, and like, even if you're in a relationship, outside of a relationship, our friendships, our familial connections, these are all important as well. I hate when we put so much emphasis on the concept of romance. But anyway, we're just going to get right into it here today. Let's start, like I said, this is going to be, let's go through some of the soul lessons that we're going to be going through in each of these categories, and then I'll dive deeper with some tarot cards to get some actual predictions coming through. So starting here with career, this is in reverse. So taking it in reverse, I want to say that there's going to be some sort of big test centered around, like I said, this is career, which is very funny because you guys got the abundance card here. Let's read this real quick, actually. Abundance says, I am a limitless being and I can manifest whatever I desire in this physical reality. So I do think that this energy, and I'm also hearing patience, is really going to be tested this month. With it being so much red on this card, I do think that there's going to be a lot of anxiety in terms of, or there could be some anxiety that stems up in terms of career and abundance. Like I said, with this being in reverse, I do think that there's going to be some sort of test that presents itself, and I'm hearing choose you. So we'll hopefully see in some predictions in our tarot cards, and you know what? I was going to do all the, you know what? We're going to start with the tarot cards first. Let's see if some tarot cards for some predictions. Sorry, this is a new format for me, so we're figuring out together as we go. And of course, trial and error with group 1, as always. Sorry, y'all. Y'all my little guinea pigs. Figuring this shit out. Let's start here. Like I said, I feel like there is the energy here of some sort of lesson that we're going to be coming in contact with in terms of our career, in terms of this idea of abundance. Could stem up some anxiety. Let's see, what are some other predictions in terms of our career? Some other predictions in terms of our career spirit. I am using the Light Seers Tarot today, if you are interested. It is one of my favorite decks. Let's see. In terms of career, what are some predictions? Starting off, we have the Six of Pentacles, which kind of, I do think that there is a sort of karmic twist to this, but the main message with this card is this idea that you get what you give, right? So it's being careful and discerning where we want to give our energy. For example, maybe you're juggling 2 jobs right now. One of them might be a side gig for extra money, and the other one might be the true career that you want to like hone in on. It's kind of this ask of like, in those kind of scenarios, maybe stepping away from just the money making and kind of putting some trust within yourself and this other career that you're kind of gunning for. You know what I mean? There's some sort of act of trust in where you are putting your energy this month. Because I'm kind of getting this idea that where you put your energy is going to determine where you're moving forward here. Like I said, I gave that example. It doesn't have to resonate. It's kind of an analogy to give you an idea of maybe the sort of test that might pop up for you. Pop up. I'm hearing like pup cup. Maybe there's something here specific that I don't know if that's like a sign or a symbol for you, or maybe there's something here with a pet that you're kind of supposed to pay attention to. But anyway, this feels like a sort of karmic and fated fork in the road, for lack of a better term. Like I said, whatever decision you have to make here in terms of this lesson with your career feels like it's going to kind of determine the path forward. Let's see what else we can get with this. What else can we get with career here? What are some other predictions, Spirit? Oh, Queen of Cups. Like I said, there was a bit that I was hearing about testing your patience. And beyond that, there's also this test of your resilience when it comes to your anxiety, when it comes to keeping a level head. I'm not saying that if you need a breakdown or two, that means you've lost the test, but I do think that there are going to be some things that pop up, not only to test your patience and your faith, but kind of to show you just how far you've come in your own emotional regulation. Like, I do see this as something like, maybe you start having a breakdown, or maybe you don't like the way that you've reacted to a certain situation that causes a lot of anxiety, that causes a lot of chaos, but you take a step back afterwards and you kind of recognize like, oh, I think I'm handling this a lot better than I would have. This kind of mentality of like, either you have this perfectionist mindset where it feels like maybe you'll never reach this ideal version of who you are, and maybe you're not giving yourself enough credit, or it's this idea of like, maybe I'm not where I want to be yet, but by God, am I light years further and better handling these things than I would have, like, say, a year ago, 3 years ago. Like I said, it's like some sort of situation, and I think it could also be in terms of this current test that you are put in, right? Where it like I said, it's just something that comes up that kind of shows you how far you've come in your own maturity and emotional regulation, the kind of ways that you handle, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a stressful situation. And let's see what else wants to come up for career. Let's take one more card. Six of Swords. So I do see, okay, and bottom of the deck energy is the Fool in reverse. We'll get to her in a second. But with the Six of Swords, I see this sort of, you're moving away from something. I'm kind of hearing like something has gone stale. And that's kind of like, to me, when I feel like we are stuck in a situation where it's time for us to move on because we can no longer, it's kind of this idea of like you've outgrown this space. So to me, that always pops up as like, this situation is getting stale, right? Because once we've outgrown a space and it's time for change and for us to take a chance on ourselves, the space that we are currently in, that we have outgrown, usually ends up becoming, whether it becomes more chaotic itself and harder to deal with, or our internal world feels more against it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if you've ever had a job for a while and it was great at first and you were enjoying it, great time, best coworkers, amazing. And then a couple seasons later, you know, a couple of coworkers are gone, new ones come in, the dynamic of the store changes, or wherever you're working changes. Sorry, store just came to mind. But the dynamic of where you're working changes, and all of a sudden it goes stale. Like old milk. Like, it is hard to be there anymore. It's hard to handle. It kind of feels like that's maybe an energy you're going to be entering in, and the more that you enter that, the more you're going to get this idea that it's time to move on and move away from something. But I will urge that with this Fool in reverse, I'm not sure if this is more of you're afraid to make the next step and take this chance on yourself, or let's get a clarifier real quick for her, actually. Let's grab what's underneath here. So intuitively, you're going to know your next steps. And I can get one of two messages from the Fool here. It's either there is some sort of anxiousness or fear that is hindering your ability to move forward here, or hindering you leaving this situation, or it's like, okay, sorry, the drawing's done. Hopefully now we're clear. I'm hoping you guys didn't hear too much of that in the background, but we're going to continue on. What I'm seeing with the Fool in reverse is either there's this, either way, your intuition is going to be pointing you towards something. And I do think that there's going to be a little bit of shadow work to go with it, whether that be fear or impulsivity. But I could see this Fool in reverse going one of two ways. Either impulsively, you want to leave, stop, or completely abruptly shift a situation, and it's not quite time yet. Like I was saying in the beginning, there is this huge, we're stepping into Mercury retrograde throughout July. So for me, it kind of, retrogrades talk about more of like a reflection time, more of planning and strategizing rather than taking that next step. So like I said, I could see this as either this is an anxiousness that is keeping you attached to a situation, or it feels like an impulsivity that just wants to leave before it's time, for lack of a better term. I do think that in your current position of career, this test that's coming through is necessary, and that's part of the reason that you're still there. There is something within your current position of career that in the situation that you're in that you need to learn before you move to the next level, if that makes sense. But I think that's pretty much all I have for career right now. Follow your intuition is the big thing here, right? So if it doesn't feel right to move on yet, let's stay where we're at and just plan our next steps forward. But if it does feel right to move on, you know, take that as you will. I do think that getting a stronger urge of wait it out, because I think it's going to make sense, and you're going to have a stronger, what's the word I'm looking for? A stronger connection to understanding the timing. I don't know. That's kind of what's coming through here for that. But anyway, that's what I have in terms of career. Like I said, I'm seeing a test on the horizon that's really going to show you just how far you've come. So, yeah, I don't know. Be proud of that. Catch yourself if you find yourself getting a little too anxious about something. I have a feeling it's just waiting for divine timing to unfold things with that. But I do see that, like I said, this test could propel you forward to a new place in your career. So, a little excitement there. But let's get into the spirit now. What is the spirit lesson that we're learning? And the lesson you have here is humor. I choose to focus on the lighter side of life. And immediately I was getting heart chakra, of course, with the green, but also I was getting that thought of somebody who has been through a lot of hard times, a lot of trauma, a lot of situations they've had to deal with, and just instead of letting it harden their heart, kind of becoming softer and choosing this sillier, not naive, but like sweeter side of life kind of vibe here. Let's see what comes through for the predictions for your soul. 12:12 on the clock as I say that. I am getting some sort of possible hanged man energy that could be going on right now. So if you are feeling stuck in the position that you're at, understand that you are not stuck. You are here for a reason. And that reason will present itself within time. But let's see what we have for predictions for your soul. And 3 cards automatically wanted to say hello. We have the Knight of Swords, the Devil, and the 2 of Swords. Bottom of the deck energy for this comes through as, of course, the Tower. We were talking about some sort of impulsivity, and I might see a little bit of drama coming through here. all of these birds kind of are coming to me as like messages, whether this be like a phone call, a conversation with somebody, a text message, a DM. I could see anywhere between 1 to 3 people contacting you within this month, within this retrograde, possibly. It feels like this could also kind of test your anxiety. I do see, with the Tower being here, that there is going to be some sort of shakeup. I think this is an internal shakeup of sorts where it kind of, I'm hearing ego death, so it might have something strongly to do with that, of course, but I think there's just a huge perspective shift that is going to, well, change your perspective, for lack of a better term. There's something here that is going to test you before you break out of the box, is kind of what I'm hearing. I'm like getting this image of somebody who is stuck in this cardboard box, and they're just giving up. They're just stuck in this box and they won't get out, but then suddenly they realize that this cardboard is so fickle, and the moment that they realize that all they have to do is just stretch their limbs, they've broken out of the box. So something here where it feels like you're confined, but it's not that deep is what I'm hearing. This confinement is not as rough, I think, as you've may have thought it was in the past. Maybe this is a building of resilience, or like I said, this could just be a simple perspective shift. But I do think that there's something here that felt like at times maybe it controlled you. Maybe this goes back with the emotional regulation that we were talking about. But I do think that this indecisiveness that we see, maybe some of you guys struggle with this freeze. You know, when we talk about fight or flight, we can get into a freeze otherwise, where we're not choosing fight or flight. We're just kind of stuck like a deer in headlights. This could be with decision making. This could be with certain people. I do think that we're kind of, if that does resonate, that could be a pattern that you're breaking out of here. Like I said, there's a bit of impulsivity here, but I think this impulsive decision choice scenario might be what leads you to this Tower moment. I do see some sort of temptation in something, but I think whether or not you listen to this temptation, you are going to learn the lesson. It's one of those things where it's like, if you give in to the temptation, there might be some sort of repercussion that comes with it, but the repercussion teaches you a lesson. And if you don't give in to the temptation, it might be difficult, but I think you can still, I think the lesson will still present itself, if that makes sense. There's something here, like I said, where it's going to cause some sort of ego death, is kind of what I'm coming through. And I do think that ego death might in part have something to do with the soul lesson that we're talking about here, where it might feel like, I kind of getting the vibe of this grieving of the past. And maybe for some of you guys, this ego death that we're hitting that kind of intertwines with this humor lesson might give you some sort of grieving about the way that you've spent your time in different scenarios, or the way that you've shown up in different connections. There might be some grieving over this idea of like, I thought things were this way, and if I wouldn't have seen things as this way, maybe I could have lived my life better or lived my life different. And when those kind of grieving feelings come up, of course, allow yourself to feel them, but don't allow yourself to ruminate in it. Because remember, you know this lesson now, so it's not too late. Do you understand where I'm coming from with that? It's like, yes, of course, allow yourself to feel this, because it sucks. When we realize how maybe we've been trapping ourselves, or the world has taught us to trap ourselves, that it's really not that deep, that we can, show up and enjoy our life the way that we want to, the way we want to be. But it's not too late to live the life that you want, is kind of what's coming through with that. It's like, you saw things one way, that is your past. It's time to close that chapter so you can continue to embody this new version of yourself. Like I said, it feels like there's some grieving energy here, and I don't want you to get too down on yourself when it comes to the idea of how things were or how things could have been. Because we can coulda, woulda, shoulda ourselves for years on end, but all that's going to do is continue this upending grieving. And grieving itself also has a timeline, in a way, So like I said, feel how you're feeling, allow yourself to get these feelings out, whether that's some sort of alchemy or however, but don't forget that you know this now. Whatever this ego death instills, this is the moment that you can start living that life that you want to with that. But yeah, there might be some weird shakeups within. I'm hearing possessions. So take that as you will. There's something important here about your possessions when it comes to your soul. Maybe this is a certain aesthetic or how you present yourself is changing, or the things that you thought were important, or the things that you desire. But there's something with that as well. But I think that's the main message here for the soul part. Now let's end off with social and relationships. You got surrender here with I release my need to control. I do see quite a bit of anxiety with this card as well, but I'm also seeing like kind of hand in hand with that tower moment we were talking about. There's like a third eye opening here. So it feels like an opening of your perspective when it comes to relationships, how you view people, how you view situations. Let's see what comes through here for the cards. Like I said, there is some sort of like, maybe this goes hand in hand with the soul lesson here that we have. The soul lesson. They're all soul lesson cards. The lesson for the soul that we have. Kind of like this hand in hand. So maybe there's something within your connections that feels like it's intertwined. It could be here too with career a little bit. I do think there's this overall energy of taking things less seriously. I saw 1919 on the clock as I was saying that, which is really funny because 19 is the sun card, and the sun card talks about, hey buddy, everything's gonna be okay. Sun's gonna come out tomorrow. Ain't nothing to worry about. And I think that that's kind of what we're learning in this group, is like not taking things so seriously, remembering that life is about enjoying ourselves, having fun and experiencing, and you don't have to be the best, be perfect, be on your game all the time. I'm just seeing which way this card wants to flip. We'll boot it up right then. So we have the devil again. So I highly think that these lessons are very intertwined. I think all three of them do have their little place, like I said, in intertwining, but I think these go hand in hand big. So something about relationships and social connections this month, it's helping with your, it's like elevating your soul in a way. Star card in reverse, very cute. And the Queen of Swords in reverse. Bottom of the deck energy is this Two of Wands here. So starting with the Two of Wands, it is telling me that we are planning on moving ahead. I don't know if there's something within your connections that made you think, well, I'm here and fuck them. I'm not saying that that's all of the connections that you have or all of your social situations, but there might be specific people or specific circles where it feels like you learned the lesson. Does that make sense? Or you're learning the lesson, like the lesson finally makes sense. I do see a bit of temptation with this as well, but as I'm seeing the gold in his hair, I'm hearing not all that glitters is gold. So there could be, I am hearing facades. I do think that you have this intuitive nudge. With the star being in reverse, there's a bit of hopelessness here, where I think that your intuition has kind of guided you about certain people, certain situations. It's kind of given you, maybe when you initially met these people, or maybe over time you started to develop these gut feelings. Either way, this is something that I think you are aware of within your inner circle. And I do think it's kind of pushed you to this more aloof solitude at this time. I will say with the Queen of Swords in reverse, I'm picking up, I don't know if it's you or the other people, but I am picking up on a sort of jealousy, sharp tongue, a bit of impatience, but more in the way of like, not patience as in waiting for something, but more of impatience and like frustration. Maybe being frustrated with certain people or situations, or just, it kind of just feels like you have had it, is kind of the vibe I'm getting here. It's like you are over this shit. So maybe this is an establishing of some boundaries that needs to be had, but I do think that there's some shit talking and there's some jealousy here. Like I said, this could be one person, this could be multiple people. I think you already have the intuitive gut feeling to say what's going on here, but it leads to this, like I said, bottom of the deck energy is the Two of Wands here. I think whatever happens within your social circles here or in romance leads you to this moving on. If you'll notice here, she's by herself. She's staring out the window longingly, daydreaming over something, but it also looks like she's planning something here. In romance, I want to say that this is your checklist, babe. The things that you want within a partner or a person, this is you being asked to adhere to that. And I do think right now with what we're seeing with the spread, it feels like you are adhering to that, right? You have choices here is the big thing. This could be, like I said, options in romance, options in connections. When it comes to options in romance, like I said, checklist. There is something specific you are looking for. Do not compromise unless you feel the need to compromise, right? And when I say that, I mean intuitive need, not the ego need where it's like, well, you know, they don't mark this box, but I guess I can deal with it. No. I truly believe that if you want this, you want it for a reason. And it could be the same thing said here when it comes to social connections in friendships, coworkers, family members, right? Maybe there are specific check boxes that you want in people, like maybe it pisses you off when people are passive aggressive. So then don't have passive aggressive friends. Not everybody out there is super passive aggressive, right? And that's just a little example of like a side thing. I mean, it's much deeper than that, I assume, when it comes to the things that you want and desire. But like I said, I see here, this is also a very empty room, which is kind of telling me that like, maybe it kind of feels like there's some sort of clearing out that's happening. I'm not saying that you're burning a bunch of bridges, losing a bunch of people, but it feels like this cross between solitude and also, like I said, like a kind of spring cleaning vibe where it's like, I'm hearing the trash takes itself out. So do with that what you will. I don't think this is anything you have to be on your guard about. I do think this is something that's going to present itself. Like I said, there is a bit of temptation here. So not being on your guard, but listening to your intuition as it comes through, right? So maybe you're having a drunk night with some of your friends. There's somebody there that you don't really trust. And it's this kind of idea of like not being on your guard and like trying to fight with them. Like if they say something, you're snapping right away, but more of like listening and paying attention. And if your intuition tells you, hey, maybe it's time to duck out, then maybe leaving the party early or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm hoping these examples are helping. Like I said, take what resonates and leave the rest. But it's a similar thing, like I said, too, if you were looking at this from a romance standpoint. If you intuitively get a vibe about something, you can give it a chance, but don't ignore your intuition. You know what I mean? Like one date with a prospect doesn't hurt, but also don't settle for something that doesn't check off your list. You get what I'm saying with that? I do think when it comes to you guys choosing the gold wave, I think there's a bit of duality that we're learning here and a bit of dichotomy. I think you are stepping into more sureness, more confidence, and more of your purpose. But with that is learning how to flow. Like I said, there's this play involved of like taking things less seriously, enjoying yourself more. And I do think that the scary things, the lessons we're dealing with here that might cause some anxiety, it's going to come in waves. But remembering that once the wave flows over us, you know, it's done. We have some still water for a while. I don't think this month is going to be turbulent. It might have some little chaotic moments, but I do, like I said, with the bottom of the deck energy here being Empress, I do see you, at least within this moment, being connected enough with your intuition, having learned the lessons to such a degree that when they're applied here with these tests, you're ready for the next level. When I say next level, if you're unfamiliar with that, that's just kind of saying that, like, I feel within what I believe that we are given lessons through people, through situations. And every time we learn that lesson, coming back to ourselves a little deeper, you know, through ego deaths or what have you, we are presented new people in situations that align even closer with the person that we want to be. And like I said, I see you guys doing that within this month, within this retrograde time. So if you were worried about it, as of right now, your energy is golden, babe. Golden for real. So I'm also hearing, love is a... what's that song? But it's golden. Daylight by Taylor Swift. So that might resonate with you as well. If I hear a song in a reading, I'm going to share it with y'all. But anyway, that is pretty much all I have for your reading today. I had so much fun looking into these predictions with you. You can start now and leave me a comment or come back within a month and tell me if any of these seem to resonate. How did that go out for you? I would love to hear how your month went, so please let me know. But if nothing else, like I said, thank you for staying for the reading. If you are interested in booking a personal reading with me, please check out the link in the description below. Check out my website. I'd love to work with you. But if nothing else, love and light, good luck this month. I see it going in your favor. Hello to my pile too, if you chose this little mood ring. Or the song message, E-Girls Are Ruining My Life by Corpse, then this reading's gonna be for you. And I don't believe in coincidences, so the fact that it's stuck between this blue and green and doesn't want to shift, I did wear it for a little bit, still didn't shift, makes me think that we are dealing with some, I'm hearing sea foam, so maybe some of you guys are getting on the lake this month or going in the water a little bit. Maybe there's a pool nearby. Maybe swimming's just going to be a big thing for y'all this month to some degree. Maybe lakes, bays, oceans, let me know. But I'm kind of getting like heart chakra, throat chakra vibes, and I think that there's something here about the connection between them, kind of like I'm getting an integration vibe, using both the heart and the throat chakra together, like some sort of ascension process with that, one might say. But I'm going to start off with, I have these soul journey lesson cards here, and each one of them is going to kind of present a theme of something you're going to be learning with each of our little, sorry, I'm losing myself real quick. Our themes for the month. We have career, spirit, and social/romantic. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what each of the lessons are going to be for each of these categories, and then we're going to take out some tarot cards to further get some predictions of what's going on this month. And I will say, before I get into this reading, just as I did with the other group, there's a big old retrograde right smack dab in the entirety of July. And this retrograde is in Cancer. So I do assume that emotions might be, if not turbulent, then a focal point of this month, which I think kind of goes hand in hand with this color pattern that we're seeing here. But without further ado, enough of the yip yap, let's get right into the readings here, huh? So starting off, I do notice these two cards are reverse, and what I kind of took as a call for the first group is reverse tells me that there's going to be a specific lesson that pops up. So let's see what comes through here. With career, we have trust in reverse. It says, trust. I accept that my inner voice will always guide me correctly. So I have a feeling that there's going to be some test involved when it comes to trusting your intuition in your career. Now let's get some tarot cards to kind of read further what we're talking about here. Let's see what comes through for the predictions. Oh, we already have a tarot card that wanted to flip over. We have the Magician in reverse. Okay. Feeling kind of powerless is part of the vibe here. Feeling like failing at alchemy is kind of what I'm hearing. So maybe this month it's going to feel like things are a little more out of your control than you're used to. And this could be in tandem with this trust vibe here. But I also think this is kind of a misleading energy. We'll get into that in a second. Maybe some sort of manipulation or some sort of like fear-based thinking. Let's get some more tarot cards to understand this a little deeper. We have the Nine of Cups here. And one more. And we have the Queen of Cups. Very funny. So did the other group with their career reading. And also the Fool in reverse. There's, I think, if you have felt like you were drawn to more than one group, I would highly recommend maybe checking out one of the other groups if you have the time or the patience, because there could be more than one message in here for you. All right, so starting off with the Magician in reverse here, like I said, I feel like there's a little bit of a powerlessness vibe coming through. Maybe there's something you've really been gunning for or desiring within work, but it feels like something is just out of your control here, or it feels like something's not taking off. Like I'm getting that kind of idea of somebody who is a magician. You know, when we think about the magician, we think about like alchemy, a master manifester, but in reverse. So like, not that they're not powerful, but they're kind of doubting themselves in something. I also kind of get that this magician in reverse could be talking about somebody in your ear. Somebody that's kind of trying to maybe not maliciously make you not believe in yourself, but somebody who kind of wants you to be tethered to the same beliefs that they have, if that makes sense. Like it could be the vibe of a coworker who, you know, they see themselves in a specific position and they don't, because they don't think that they can move up in something, they don't think that you can. This is kind of like maybe a parent or a friend that's kind of ushering you to like be more cautious with your decisions. It just kind of feels like there might be somebody in your ear And that could also turn into, like, if it's not a specific person, we could also be talking here about, like, some sort of, like an inner child wound or inner teenager wound where, like, you know, somebody back when you were a kid told you, you know, be practical about your career. And now that's kind of ingrained in you to a degree, you know, kind of creating these fears or this false sense of insecurity of sorts. But I do see that something within this month pops up, something that you within your career have worked on or manifested. Something about this Nine of Cups is kind of, it feels like it's something that's cause for celebration. Something that you have been working for finally ends up clicking, right? Like, I'm also hearing it's not clicking, Steven. So maybe, I don't know if that's like a symbol or a synchronicity for you that maybe when you see it, it'll kind of resonate. But it also feels like you figure out what needs to click. Like you're hearing what's not clicking, Steven, to take the next step forward or to make something happen. And it finally feels like things have fallen into place. Like, oh, that's what's not clicking. I get that. You readjust that. And suddenly something that you've been manifesting when it comes to career comes to you. I also see here, much like my other group, it seems like... No, actually, this does feel different. Same card, different message. It feels like you are being asked to find a sense of balance when things are crazy. There's this... I don't know if you guys meditate or whatever your version of meditating is. Maybe you journal, maybe you go for walks. There is this ask that when it feels like nothing is working for you, to find flow again. So let's use the example of you're an artist and you have all of these beautiful paintings, but you have never sold a painting. And no matter how hard you try to advertise, to get yourself out there, to have people see your work, you still can't get somebody to buy your painting. So you're stuck at your day job, right? And you're trying so hard to be seen, to finally get this off the ground. Just one little sale could prove that I can be an artist. When we get into that mentality, and it kind of feels like it's turned into like a chase mentality of sorts, you are being asked to just sit with that feeling. Because I do think if you sit in the stillness and let these waves of insecurity or fear, whatever's stemming up here, that it feels like it's hard to traverse through within this month, I think answers are going to come to you. But also, I do think that there's this bit of patience that is being asked. Like, we go back to this. There is something here that is testing your trust. So I don't know if it's a specific manifestation in your career or a specific job offer that you were looking for. Maybe it's some sort of promotion. I'm not saying whether or not the current position that you're in, this is going to happen, but I think whatever needs to be changed, redirected, or restructured within your mindset will come when you sit in stillness. So like I said, if these emotions are feeling turbulent, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling afraid, or you're just feeling frustrated, give yourself a minute to step away from the work. You know, quit trying to force something to happen here. You're kind of being asked to divert your attention to anything that is going to help you look inwardly. Like I said, this could just be a mindful walk where all of a sudden you're cloud watching and maybe something comes to you there. This could be sitting down in meditation. This could be doing a whole different task mindfully as is. I'm not saying like, I will say for some of you, I do think that this could work where you could go watch a TV show and all of a sudden like there's an answer right in front of you, but it feels like doing some sort of mindful task. Take that as it resonates. Bottom of the deck energy, like I said, was this Fool in reverse. I'm hearing it's not time yet. So there could be something with this Nine of Cups. This could be a double-edged sword for some of you where you are presented something that looks almost exactly like what you want. For an example, for those of you that are maybe still in school, and this is career school-based, maybe this is a specific college that's like the second on your list that says, okay, yeah, you know, we'll take you, you're accepted. Like I said, there's something here about it's not quite time yet. So say your second college on your list of choices accepted you, and you're tempted to say, yeah, I'm going to go there because, I mean, what are the chances that your second favorite college would take you? You're kind of being asked to wait for your first option. You know what I mean? We are, like I said, we're in retrograde energy. So check all these contracts. Make sure that everything fits to the way that you want it to before you settle for something. You know what I mean? But like I said, your trust is going to be tested. which means kind of like self-belief. Do you trust that you are worthy of that first option? I do think that this is going to kind of like change your perspective a little bit. Going through this lesson and completing this lesson is going to do this little bit of change within your perspective of maybe how you see your worth, yourself, but also how you see manifesting. And I do see that under this Fool in reverse, there was this Six of Swords energy. So it makes me think that there is something else here we're moving away from, whether that be our current position in career or that second option that I was talking about that doesn't quite fit. It, like I said, it might look good on paper, but is it exactly what you want? Just because it looks good and other people say it's a good opportunity doesn't mean it's the perfect opportunity for you. So that's pretty much all I have for career. Let's get into, like I said, the next one. Oh, girl, you gotta stay there. Shh. The next one that we're getting into here is spirit. So like your soul, your energy. What is the lesson that we're learning? I think this one's in reverse as well. It is. And a lot of purple here, by the way, babe. So I feel like we are really being asked to listen to our intuition, listen to our gut feelings. But further than that, I think we are enhancing our intuitive ability. Our third eye is like popping out of our forehead this month. You know what I mean? So you guys got, for your soul, the lesson that you're hearing here, their soul lesson, it's the cards. Judgment. I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. Interesting. I'm also kind of, with the card saying judgment, I did get an image of like the judgment card in my mind. And what this kind of tells me is I think that this is a lesson that's been a long time coming. Whether that means what it says of a long time coming, or this might be a lesson that you've had multiple times and you understanding the lesson's a long time coming, which I think I'm leaning more towards the latter with that one. It feels like something you've encountered before, but now it's kind of making sense. So let's see here. What comes through for the predictions of your soul this month? Your energy, your soul. We have the Five of Cups. So yeah, when I'm seeing grief like this feels like something that has been long term. There's like an understanding with this of like, not like this is the way things have to be, but it's like, oh, it would make more sense if things were like this, actually. Looks like you guys get an extra card on this one, because we have the Seven of Swords in reverse, the Ten of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, and of course I take bottom of the deck energy. So that is the Six of Pentacles here. And talking about the Six of Pentacles right away, there is some sort of karmic, I want to say connection for a lot of you, but there's some sort of karmic lesson here about give and take. Specifically, what you give to either takes from you from that area or gives back to you from that area. This idea of, I'm hearing multiplying abundance. And abundance is more than just material, of course. But yeah, like I said, I see some sort of grief here. Some sort of recognizing that we need to let go of something no matter how precious it is for us. Precious it is to us. And with that, I feel like this letting go of something. If you see here, there's almost like this essence that's coming out of her. I think there's going to be some letting go of a part of yourself with this thing, person, scenario. This could be a couple different things. This could even just be a perspective that you're letting go of, right? Like maybe, I'm trying to see here, like, sorry, let me think of an analogy real quick. Like, it could be as simple as even aesthetics. Like, maybe you were more of this, I don't know, business-oriented, wears these nice three-piece suits and ties and all that, and then all of a sudden you kind of shift and now you're more like alt-emo. You know, there's this, like, grieving of something here, and I think it kind of, like I said, kind of works in tandem with a part of you. This could also be, like, connections, people, situations. Like, maybe you're letting go of a part of yourself because you're letting go of a friend group or a specific person, you know? I see here, I almost see the Seven of Swords as, like, removing yourself from something. Like, this feels like, this feels like a call to remove yourself from somewhere, but it feels like you got this call in the past. Does that make sense? Like, almost like if this is about a specific person or a thing or a place, then it's kind of this vibe of like you either walked into this building or you met this person or you bought this thing or received it knowing that either this cannot last or this is going to bite me in the ass or something here is not right. And I feel like it's almost like now is when you're walking away from it. Kind of, I'm hearing more established self. So if it's not a walking away, maybe it's, for some of you guys, I see like a perspective shift when it comes to things like this. Like, maybe from a scarcity or a lack mindset, you thought that these things were going to be much more turbulent than they are, if that makes sense. It's just, it feels here like there could be some bad energy wished on you, but it doesn't feel like something that's going to destroy you, for lack of a better term. 555 in the clock with a 1 in front of it. I do think that there is some sort of change when it comes to how you listen to your intuition and the development of yourself coming through here, in terms of like how you may have viewed betrayal or people, quote unquote, being against you, having bad vibes for you in the past. To me, the 10 of Pentacles in reverse here is kind of coming through this like foundation shaking. This could be family or chosen family, but it feels very familial oriented. This could even be coworkers that you see more than your family. You know what I mean? Like, this feels familial oriented though. So people that somehow feel very attached to you, very a part of you. There's some sort of weird dynamic or shakeup that's happening with that kind of forces you to see what you need to let go of within yourself and within these dynamics. Like I said, this could be as simple as pieces of you you're letting go of. Like, I don't know, maybe for some of you guys, it could be like a sobriety thing. And now you're kind of like moving away from party friends or something like that. But I don't know, like I said, there's this familial vibe here. There's this perspective shift from, you know, people taking from you, so to speak, people betraying you. It feels like a lot of energy is going to come through quick. And it's going to be a lot of very quick-paced decisions. And if you'll notice here, what's so crazy about this spread right here, which is why I'm really glad that we have like 4 cards, is this is every element. We have the cups for water, we have the swords for air, we have the pentacles for earth, and we have the wands for fire. And what's even funnier is the fact that you have the emotions and the passion are both upright. And it's kind of the internal world and the material, the body, that kind of feel like they're a little shaken right now. So I do feel like part of this is also a huge ask for rest. I'm also hearing listen to your dreams. If you feel a random slump within the day and you need to take a nap, you need to honor that. And it's really ironic that I'm saying that as I am in an afternoon slump. I think before I take on the 3rd reading, I might take a nap myself. But I do think that like all of these elements being here is kind of telling me that there is a soul ascension currently happening. So if you find yourself having like these moments where you might be more sore, or you have some sort of migraine coming through, or you just feel tired in a slump, give yourself that time to rest. Going back to that Judgment card in reverse, I think there's this long time coming, like I said, energy of really understanding. I'm getting the image of the 5 of Swords. And the 5 of Swords as this lesson, kind of to tie this all together, makes me think of, if you know the 5 of Swords, like I'm talking the Rider-Waite Tarot, by the way. The original Rider card kind of has this person that's sort of looking over their shoulder with a smug look as they're holding onto 3 swords, while these other 2 people, the other 2 swords are dropped on the ground and these other 2 people are walking away sad. And I think there's something that's going to happen within this month that's going to make you realize that even if people have had bad intent for you in the past, or things have felt like they were out there to get you, to harm you, first off, you're going to recognize just how much of your own power and worth plays into these things, and just how easy it is for you to rise above these petty scenarios. But I think beyond that, you're going to recognize just how pathetic the people that wish bad things on you are. Does that make sense? I mean, that sounds kind of harsh, but it's kind of this vibe of like, oh shit, I'm like in my own energy and these people are really that obsessed? Well, fuck that. I don't know. Like I said, it's some sort of understanding of your worth here and seeing these scenarios from a new lens. Almost of like pity is kind of what it feels like it could be. If not pity, it's just some sort of empathy. I feel like, yeah, like I said, it goes back to heart and throat chakra strong this month. I do think there's something here with boundaries as well, but I do think that there's a lot of empathy coming through here. A bit of grieving, but I do think that I'm getting like 4th of July might be something very specific here. Something's going to happen either around or surrounding that holiday, like the holiday or surrounding the holiday of 4th of July, that it's going to make this make sense more or less. But I do see that this month can be very either full of passion or a lot of events. The number 8 also being in this 6 of Pentacles here, I think is very important. And if all of this feels confusing, or if you are faced with moments where the dynamic between you and another person seems to be very confusing, because I do think that a lot of this is social, you're being asked to like take a step back. I do think that this month is going to be a lot more solitude than anything else, a lot more reflection. I don't think you're going to be meeting a bunch of new people that are going to play a long-term role in your life, or the people that you're connecting with now. Like the people that you've had for a while, that I'm talking like anybody that you are currently creating a dynamic or connection with, I don't think is going to be very long-term, like within this month, of course. But yeah, I think that that's mostly, I'm sorry that was a little chaotic. I think it's also because a lot of this is up in the air, but it does seem like your soul is going through a lot of enrichment. Like I'm seeing a cat playing with an enrichment toy trying to find their treats. I think that that's kind of the vibe that your soul is going through this month. Like everything you do has a little bit to understand, to learn from. Like we were talking earlier, like backing away from work and going and watching a show, and like all of a sudden something makes sense. I think you're going to have a lot of those moments where no matter what you do, you're learning a lesson this month. You know what I mean? Like you're watching a TV show and all of a sudden it lines up directly with what you have going on right now. Or you're playing a game and something in the dialogue directly reflects what you need to hear. I think you're going to be having a lot of those moments this month. But anyway, that's what I have for soul. Like I said, connections seemed to kind of come through here. Ooh! 10 of Pentacles in reverse is also kind of telling me that there's some sort of like familial trauma. What do they call that? Generational curse, whatever you want to say. Something that you've seen within your family that I think you're going to see the reflection of a lesson that you've seen within your family, if that makes sense. Something that maybe grandparents went through and couldn't quite figure out, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. It feels like you're going to be figuring out what they couldn't, if that makes sense. Last but not least, success. So with your connections, your social and romantic life, success comes through. I know there is no greater goal than to love, and that is so sweet. I'm going to throw up. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be an extremely social month overall for you guys. But, sorry, I'm eating on the side. That's my bad. I can't be eating while I'm reading. I don't think this is going to be a super social month for you guys. In terms of, like, constantly being bombarded with social activity. I do think that there could be specific events that are popping up that are more social. Like I said, I do get more of this hermit vibe where you guys are enjoying your solitude or trying to figure things out by yourself. But I'm kind of hearing with that, with the success card coming out, keep your circle small, keep your circle tight. So it feels like when you are asked to go out and socialize and do things, you know, taking it as it comes, taking it as your intuition tells you, but maybe when you feel the want to get out there and socialize more, keeping it to the people that you know that you can trust and depend on. You know what I mean? The people that have proven to be worthy of your time and energy and trust. Also with that image, I'm hearing that song by Chappell Roan, Love is a Kaleidoscope. If you haven't heard that song, it's called Kaleidoscope. I would totally check it out. There might be a message in there for you. But essentially, if I were to sum up what the song means to me, or what I think it means in general, it is this idea that love has so many different forms. And I do think that I'm also hearing that song now, I don't remember who it's by, so forgive me, but Mad at Disney. That whole, I'm mad at Disney, they tricked me, they told me I needed to find the one, or whatever. I do think there's something shifting in your perspective when it comes to just love in general, when it comes to the dynamic of friendships, of needing, quote unquote, needing a romantic partner. I do think you're going to see just how versatile the term soulmate is. Like I said, I don't see this being an overall super social month, but I think the experiences you're going to have with the people that are closest with you are really going to develop a deeper understanding for you of what love is to you, if that makes sense. There's also this idea here with the yellow. I'm immediately thinking solar plexus. And I do think that there's going to be this deeper... I'm hearing the song Worthy by the home team. You guys are getting much more song messages than my other group did. But it's kind of this idea of understanding what you are worthy of when it comes to love a little bit deeper, and understanding where you've been settling and the kind of dynamics and connections that you want to have moving forward. Let's see if we can get any other predictions with success. I know I kind of just did some rambling off the top of my head. Let's see what else comes through here for your social and romantic connections. We have Queen of Swords. Oh my god, these reflecting cards from these groups are driving me nuts. Six of Pentacles. I want new cards. Oh boy. Four of Wands. Cute. In the bottom of the deck energy we have here is the Three of Swords. Oh my goodness. I might need a second to understand this because this... Whoa. The Three of Swords, I think, has two meanings here. Really funny. Oh my god. Oh my god. We talked about... I told you the image of the Five of Swords. Right under the Three of Swords is the Five of Swords in reverse. Fucking wild. Okay. So I think there's a double-edged sword here with the Three of Swords. And I think it goes in tandem with what we were talking about with the Five of Swords over there. Because the Five of Swords is in reverse, I do think that there's going to be something that comes to light that is going to break your heart. That is going to suck. And the moment that it's kind of entered your sphere, like something, there was some sort of betrayal, there was some sort of bullshit, there was some sort of shit talking, whatever it is, somewhere within your social sphere, or even with a romantic partner. This could be any sort of betrayal here. But like I said, we were talking about the Five of Swords before as like this idea of, with it being in reverse, I think that's going to be your initial reaction is going to be this, until you recognize that lesson we were talking about of the Five of Swords upright, where it's like, yes, these people do these things, but once your perspective shifts to understand your worth and what you bring to the table and like why they do what they do, it's not gonna hurt, I don't think, nearly as much. I mean, it's still gonna hurt, feel through the pain, bitch. Like, we need to grieve so we can move on. But I do think that there's going to be this lightening of the load through this grief. I do see, like, Queen of Swords is also talking to me about this solitude within this month. I do see you communicating with specific people more, but I don't see it being a very romantic or emotional time, if I'm going to be honest. This feels more like strategy, I'm kind of hearing. I do think for some of you, maybe you guys are aware of a specific person or people within your social circle that might not have the best intent for you. So you're kind of just waiting for it to play out, watching it play out. Like I said, this could be a specific person that maybe you're considering dating or have been dating, and you're like, there's something going on here, or something within your social circle where it's like, I know these bitches are talking shit. It just feels like you're kind of doing your thing and waiting for everything to unfold in front of you, you know? Back to that idea of what you give to gives back. So it's kind of assessing your connections and the dynamics that have been playing in social situations, whether it be platonic, romantic, familial, what have you, and kind of seeing either where it feels like things are being taken too much, or maybe where there's an imbalance between the give and take. It's more of like this discernment energy I'm seeing here when it comes to your social connections. Like I said, it's very outside looking in, very reflective. With the Four of Wands here, I do see some sort of union with a friend. Maybe this is like a childhood friend you haven't seen in a while, a hometown friend, somebody that you grew up with, or somebody that you're just not connected with right now. With it being the two girls here, I want to say probably same sex, same gender, but that doesn't have to resonate, you know? But it feels like somebody who you've had a long-term connection with, who you haven't seen in a while. A while could be anything from like weeks to years. You know what I mean? It really depends on what your vibe of a while is. But it feels like there's a lot of fun here within that. I do think that there could be multiple social interactions like this month. Like I said, it's choosing those ones with the people that you feel like you can trust. Those social interactions that you go to that your intuition's like, yeah, let's do it, rather than like the no, let's not do it. Those are going to be fun. Those are going to feel like you're letting loose. You're going to feel more connected with yourself, with the people, with just this like fun energy. But like I said, there's that little bit of both here where it's like looking on the outside in. Do I like this dynamic? Being discerning about people, about connections. And don't forget to look inward. I do think there's something here with the Four of Wands where it feels like some sort of reflection that I think it's an ask to kind of look at dynamics or people and kind of see, is it all, like looking, rather than placing blame, looking where blame is shared. When we're looking at that idea of, you know, we were talking Three of Swords, we were talking Five of Swords in reverse, where it feels like, yes, there's some sort of not entirely kind energy, but it's a question of, is this somewhere to place blame or is there shared blame here? I think of boundaries when I'm thinking of that. Maybe some of us are coming out of this people pleasing and we're learning how to establish a stronger sense of self, a stronger sense of our boundaries and our connections, or something to that degree. Like I said, take what resonates and leave the rest. It's going to be different for everybody. But I think that's pretty much all I have for you today, babe. I do think that in a deep time of reflection and solitude, you might get a message from somebody. If not a message, there is some sort of synchronicity that's going to come through about somebody either thinking about you or thinking of sending a message to you. Take that as it resonates. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for you today. I do think that there's something here too about night. An event at night. A social event with friends at night. Okay. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. We're going to cut it there. Actually, shit. No, we're not going to cut it there. I'm sorry. So sorry. One more thing. And that might be how this month feels as well. That whole little bit that I did there, where it's like, is it over? Oh, wait, one more thing. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting for this month in general, is it's like, it feels like this could be the thing. This could be the thing. Oh, wait, it's all over. It's all over. It's done. Wait, one more. Anyway, with this Six of Pentacles, with this being a karmic thing, like I said, I do think you guys are going to learn the lesson. I do think you guys are going to have the perspective shift. I do think that you guys are going to become more confident. But I do think that there's some sort of fork in the road where you are going to be faced with some sort of decision when it comes to your social connections and circles, whether that be a specific person has a test for you, 3333 on the clock, or a specific situation tests whether or not you're going to be true to yourself. Don't be wary, but be mindful of it. Don't stress about it. Just try to be as present as you can in these situations. And now I'm done. I've got nothing else for you. We have drained me completely and I need to go take a fucking nap. So, without further ado, thank you so much for staying for the reading, my love. It's great having you here. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in booking a personal reading with me, please check out the link in the description below. Check out my website. I would love to work with you, but if nothing else, have a great rest of your day, friend. I hope July treats you well. Hello, pile 3. If you chose this red ring, or the third pile in general, this is going to be for you. I'm sure you've noticed we've hit the cardinal sin of we're recording at a different time than we did before. Sun's going down, using my desk lamp. Let's hope the light works with us. But I don't believe in coincidences. So I think that there's some vibe here of I'm hearing better late than never. So I do think there might be something that just holds on to the last second going on with the theme here. you weren't really paying attention in the beginning, or you just skipped it entirely. No harm, no foul. I get you, babe. We don't have the time to sit through the bullshit. This reading today is going to be a prediction of how July is going to go for you. The song message that this group got was I Want to Be a Boy by Addison Grace, or I Want to Be a Boy by Addison Grace, my bad. But yeah, starting right here, you have this red ring. I want to say the crystal is just an agate ring. So maybe agates have something with you, maybe red crystals in general. I do get a sort of like cyclical ending of a circle vibe going on here, like ending of a cycle. I also don't think it's coincidence that we have these two sides that are kind of mirroring each other. This could talk about some mirroring energy coming up, whether between a past version of yourself or another person. But I'm getting a lot of like ask to ground energy going on here with this month. So how I have this set up here is each of these cards are holding a theme for your month. We have career, spirit and soul, and relationships, connections. This could be platonic, familial, romantic. We'll see how it comes. Essentially, we are going to be reading the soul lesson card. That is kind of the theme for this little section that we have. And then we're going to be doing some tarot cards to kind of get some extra predictions in there. So reminder, just because I've been telling all the groups and I don't know if it's going to be coming through or not, during this July particularly, we have a big ol' retrograde taking up the entirety of the month. So do with that what you will. But let's get straight into the cards here. Starting off, we have for your career, it's in reverse. So what I've been doing with these cards is if they've been showing up in reverse, then it's a big call that there's going to be a test specifically in this area of your month, we'll say. So with career, the card that you guys got was service. I feel good when I can help others. So I'm wondering here with the reversal, if there is a breaking out of that idea going on here. Because I feel like this group, or a lot of you, if you resonate with this idea, it almost feels like part of your purpose is helping people. You find more worth when you are helping others, when you are doing things to aid to them, when you're there to listen to their issues. It just feels like this group draws a lot of their worth from this concept of service and helping others. And I think that there's going to be some sort of test to kind of expand your mind on that concept. But let's get into some tarot cards to dive further. I do see with the green and the yellow themes of solar plexus and heart chakra healing. And I think this is under the terms of, like I said, worth and kind of like self-love. So let's see what cards pop out to kind of help out with some of the predictions of the spread. What comes through here for my pile 3. Last but not least, oh, we don't even have the hold up here. I want your little token, your little ring in the camera. Yeah, better late than never keeps on kind of popping through here. So maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not taking those. I am taking this one right here. Knight of Cups. Interesting that that's coming through for career. Let's see what else wants to come through here. Nine of Cups in reverse. Already a lot of Cups energy for... Also, if it doesn't resonate for like career, business, job-wise, maybe you guys are in school, like in college, in some sort of study. Maybe you're taking summer classes of some sort. It's kind of whatever career means to you at this point. It is kind of where I'm putting it as. Let's see if anything else wants to come out. Any final cards? You guys got 4. Only one other group got a section of 4 cards. So that's interesting to me. I think this is going to be a pivotal time for you. High Priestess. 9 of Wands. Let's kind of get these more in frame. My bad, friend. We're working with the cheapo setup. In the bottom of the deck energy is the 4 of Cups here, which we will be referencing probably throughout the reading. I don't think that the Knight of Cups is coming through in the traditional romantic emotional sense. I think that this is kind of, especially with the 9 of Cups right next to it in reverse, this is kind of warning that an opportunity or a choice, I'm going to go with opportunity. An opportunity might present itself. But a similar message I got for the last group, not all that glitters is gold. And if it feels like there's more than one group that's resonated with the piles that I've shown you in the beginning, feel free to go and skip around and see if anything else resonates with them in the other piles. There might be more than one message there for you. But I think with something within your career, there's going to be a sort of smooth talker that prevents. Interesting. A smooth talker that might prevent an offer from coming to you, or try to like take your attention from an offer that's coming through. But I do see it as, I think somebody is going to try to smooth talk you into something that you don't really want, or that's not entirely aligned with you. What I'm kind of seeing here with the Nine of Cups in reverse is it's either, it feels like a safe option. It doesn't even feel, another group was talking about maybe something that's not quite, but almost what you're looking for. This feels more like just a safe option in general. It might not be, like I said, so there's some sort of offer I see that might be coming in or present itself that feels like it would be a safe option to say okay to, but it doesn't feel like it aligns with your true desire. I'm hoping I said that clear enough that last time there. There is going to be, when this pops up, especially if it's causing some sort of fear or anxiety that's like, is something better going to even come? You're being asked to listen to your intuition, as evident by the High Priestess here. I do think that moments of stillness when you're feeling the chaos are going to lead you to answers. I do think you have a similar message here with the last group, where things, symbols, signs, synchronicities, little things that you could be doing might pop up with random messages, random answers for you throughout the month. Whether that's a message you answer on a message left on your answering machine gives you the answer you've been looking for, or maybe you're reading a book and there's something about the storyline that like lines up with your situation. It does feel like there's going to be some sort of reflecting energy within your world. Maybe even you're giving advice to a friend and their situation is lining up with yours. But there's something here about when this offer is presented, if it doesn't feel right, don't take it. I do see you in more of this, or being asked to be in more of this cautious, in your boundaries kind of energy here when it talks about career. Whether that be, making your job kind of see your worth and acknowledge it. Maybe you're asking for a raise or a better position, or it's just not settling for what you don't want, with the concept of like, maybe they ask, hey, can you work overtime for us? And you're not really feeling working overtime. You've got enough money. You can say no. You don't have to say yes. And I think that's also part of what we're looking at here, is I think this offer that's presented, I feel like might be akin to an offer that you've had in the past, or it's going to reflect a past situation that you've been in terms of work and career. And when you get that memory that pops up, that reflecting situation that you're reminded of as you're contemplating whether or not to go forward with this, listen to your gut, whether or not it tells you to go forward. I do think for a lot of you, it's probably a blatant, like, you'll know, maybe not say yes to this, but I don't know. It's this vibe here of like, I get this sense that there's something you might be looking for, or you're at least looking for different than what's being presented here. And it comes to this concept of discernment with the Four of Cups here. The Four of Cups talks about disillusion. It talks about this kind of boredom energy, a bit of apathy. But I kind of see it in the story that it's presented here with the career, is it kind of looks like she's being presented all of these empty cup offers. And she recognizes every time that she's offered a cup that it's empty. It doesn't have what she desires. It doesn't have anything that's going to fulfill her. They're stacking up here. She hasn't taken any of them. She doesn't want any of them. And she starts to give up on this idea that there's going to be a cup that has some sort of sustenance to it, that has what she's looking for. And it's within that moment that she's at her lowest, ready to completely give up, but not give in to something lesser than, that she gets what she desires. I used this metaphor a while back that I saw from a TikTok video that I think I'm going to relay again here. If you hadn't heard it before, if you have, so sorry, we're going to go through it again. It's this idea that there is a woman that sits down for dinner. And she's at this restaurant, and the restaurant is supposed to symbolize the universe, right? The server's supposed to symbolize what the universe is giving her. She looks at the menu, and all she sees are fries. She doesn't want fries. She turns to the person next to her. The person next to her is having pizza. The person on the other side of her is having pasta. She turns to the person having pasta and goes, I only see fries on the menu. How did you get that pasta? The person with the pasta tells her, well, you have to order it. So she orders from the server and she goes, hey, can I have that pasta, by the way? Server goes, one pasta coming right up. Server brings out fries. And she turns over to the lady with the pasta again and she goes, hey, so I got fries when I ordered pasta. The person eating the pasta says, well, refuse it. Let them know this is not what you ordered. So she sends back the fries and she's waiting on her pasta. She's sitting there confused. She's hungry. She goes, well, maybe I should have just eaten the fries because they were presented to me anyway. The person who has pasta themselves goes, no, if you focus on the waiting is going to take longer. But if you, pay attention to other things, do other things within the meantime, it's that idea of watching a pot never boils. You know what I mean? And eventually, since she did not give in and eat the fries, since she made sure that, the universe, the waiter knew this was not what she wanted and sent it back, she does get her pasta. I'm hoping I explained that well enough to kind of show you there is something here I think that aligns with that when it comes to your career. I do think that might align also with your social and romantic life, if that's kind of the vibe, like if you're looking for something specific right now. But at least for career, that seems to be the case of like, if it's not what you're looking for, maybe don't give in to it. You know what I mean? Which I guess is similar to what I got for another pile. But there's that twist here where I think this group senses a safety when it comes to settling for this offer. And I think that's where a little bit of the difference is it's like, it's not going to look like something you want, but it is going to feel like something that's secure. But I think you are being asked to break out of this mentality of just security and kind of grow beyond that, if that makes sense. But yeah, like I said, paying attention, using your discernment, setting your boundaries, and listening to your intuition are going to be the big things with this theme here. And going back to that, the analogy that I used about overtime, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with this idea of this service and reverse card here. There is a degree where we want to compromise and be fair to our coworkers or, people that we're working with, right? If we're working with other people, we want to make sure that we're having a fair work environment where everybody is getting what they need and all, you know what I mean? But there is a degree where sometimes we have to be a little selfish. Whether you are focusing on other things in your life, maybe you want a better work-life balance in general. You are more than okay to tell what you're not going to be settling for at work. If you don't want the extra hours, don't have them schedule you for the extra hours. Just bring up something to them if they are scheduling you extra hours. Obviously, like I said, this is just an example. There could be so many other venues. Maybe you're having issues with a coworker, having that conversation with them rather than just letting things be for the sake of peace. All of these little things. I do think there's going to be some sort of test here, either within your work environment or with one of your coworkers that we're seeing. But I do see you, like I said, since the Four of Cups is set how it is, I do see you kind of discerning your way through and saying no to the things that don't feel right until you get what you are offered. Which like I said, I think might be a common theme with the cards that we have here. So let's get into how is your spirit, your soul, going to be jiving through this month. The card that you have is worry. The lesson here is I am learning that worry doesn't change an outcome. Which goes back to kind of what we were talking about with career there, with like safety, choosing the safe option, choosing security. I mean, there are times in our life where we are asking ourselves and we do ask to choose security, but I think you are being asked to learn how to level up within this retrograde, within this month. I think it's really funny that we have the red crystal, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm kind of depleted now, but it's kind of funny that we have the red crystal ring here. Because like I said, it kind of reminds me of root chakra vibes. And when I think of worry, when I think of anxiety, I think about stabilizing that root chakra. If you are not familiar with what I'm talking about, and you are interested, I would highly suggest looking up researching wounds when it comes to our energy centers, when it comes to our chakras. Or as normally pronounced chakra, I think. I don't know. Continuing. Your soul is learning better flow. I'm seeing waves within here. I'm also seeing flags. I don't know if any of you guys were in color guard or anything like that, but there is some sort of sign, symbol about color guard coming through here. Or some sort of celebration. Also seeing like pinwheels. but pinwheels and the 4th of July, maybe? But I think I'm also seeing, okay, with the pinwheels, there also came, what are those called? Windmills. So I think there's something here about, well, I'm hearing winds of change, but also flowing with the winds of change. This is my pattern recognition group for sure. I do think that you guys have a very strong inkling of how things could turn out, and I think you guys do have a really good guessing ability, for lack of a better term. I do think that you have strong intuition as well, but I also think that pattern recognition plays a hand here, and I'm here to echo something my therapist told me recently. My therapist and my aunt. You might have an idea how something can end, but you will never know how something ends unless you watch it play out. With that, 16:16 on the clock, giving me a little bit of Tower moment vibes here, I think you are going to be shocked throughout this month. I heard pleasantly surprised, but then I also just heard shocked. So I'm thinking in a neutral way. There could be positive and negative, shocking surprises that kind of balance itself out. But like I said, I think this is more of just pointing to your soul wants to flow with things more and wants to let go of control a little bit. And I think we're going to echo themes of that throughout the month here. So let's predict what's going to go on with the soul, with the spirit. I'm already hearing ascension. If you do resonate with like the spiritual process of ascending, baby, I think you're already on your way. And I think this month is going to help you get there. Let's see what comes through. Let's start with King of Wands in reverse. Okay, that makes sense. I also found it very interesting that with career, we got a lot of cups, which is a lot of emotion. So I do think that what you're learning in career also kind of extends a little bit to what we're talking about with soul and connections here. I think that, I mean, mind, body, and soul, it's all intertwined. So I do truly believe that all of these lessons are intertwined and will find ways to each other. But 10 of Wands, okay, also makes a lot of sense. A lot of wand energy here. So a lot of like passion and energy exertion. And 2 of Cups in reverse. Interesting. Actually, that kind of throws me. Page of Wands being the bottom of the deck energy. So already I'm getting this sense of you're going to be learning to be more playful. Back with that idea of flow. Back with that idea of just going with the energy rather than trying to micromanage things. It just feels like I'm hearing Dancing Through Life, that song from Wicked. So I think that we're kind of getting in this subtle shift from somebody who might have been a little more obsessive about different things, might have been a little more anxious, like I said, gunning for safety and security, to somebody who is learning to treat life like, I'm hearing a chessboard, and then I heard the sound, you playing checkers, I'm fucking your dad. Okay, I get it. So we're going from this chessboard mindset where it's like strategizing, planning the next move, learning how to beat this opponent, to this concept of more of like silliness. Like that sound that I echoed just kind of entails like, you playing checkers, I'm fucking your dad. You know, you're not micromanaging and strategizing to the degree that you used to. And I'm sorry if that's a little triggering. I don't mean it so intensely like you're a controlling person. But I mean it more as like this anxiety comes through because, or this anxiety could be coming through because of this fear and this desire to control. Because we think when we control things that we have an idea of how it's going to turn out, or we have our hand in the game here. With the little salamander, not salamanders, but the little lizards here, I do think there's going to be like this feeling of shedding skin. I see there with the circle too, that it feels like completion of cycles. And with that baton in the air after we were talking about color guard, I find that very funny. This King of Wands in reverse is kind of telling me that your confidence is going to be shaken up quite a bit. I think part of the story that we're seeing here is we're kind of going from this King of Wands in reverse energy, somebody who, it's almost like, what's the term I'm looking for? Like false growth, if that makes sense. It kind of translates as like there may be some maladaptive coping skills here or some mindsets that need to be shifted, but it's this idea of coming across as mature. It's almost like, it's coming up to me as like, you know how you go through elementary school, you hit 5th grade, and all of a sudden you're top dog of the school or whatever, but then you enter middle school and you're 6th grade and you're bottom of the food chain all over again. That's the kind of vibe that's coming through, but a little more of like, but it, it is lighthearted when it happens, isn't it? Yeah, it's like this lighthearted vibe of that, where it's like you go from something doesn't really feel right. Like maybe we're seeing more ego here than self-esteem, if that makes sense. Like an analogy that I could use here is somebody who is driven off of like, they seem confident to the outside lens, right? But their confidence is fabricated in ego. You know what I mean? Where they go into a room, because like fake confidence is walking into a room thinking you're better than everybody. True confidence with self-esteem behind it is walking into a room knowing you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. And that kind of shift, I feel like, is what we're seeing here with a lot of the in tandem with this worrying somehow. I get this idea that you might have a specific friend or a group of friends or a couple different friends in general that are going to be helping you release some baggage. I feel like recently you kind of feel like you got to the top of this hill, almost like there's something here where within, I want to say maybe the last couple of weeks, or at least the last year it's been reflected, where it feels like the end of some sort of journey. And you got to embrace this beautiful landscape from the top of the mountain, because you climbed that mountain. It's the climb, baby. Miley Cyrus said, it's the climb. You're at the top of the mountain, you see this beautiful scenery. But then you realized you don't have your phone and you're all alone. And while that's beautiful that you get to see that scenery and soak it up, you want to be able to share that somehow, is kind of like some sort of storyline that's coming through here. And it leads me to this picture where it feels like now that you're coming down the mountain, there is still some baggage that was like hard to climb up with, but you're going to have help bringing it down. Does that make sense? I know that was a little scatterbrained there, but I just, this idea that some of the shit that you've been through, I feel like is going to be alleviated through connections here. So this idea of, I mean, it kind of goes back to this dancing through life and not taking things so seriously. It's this idea of past baggage, past situations, past betrayals, past hardships within connections are kind of being released. Something about in your social sphere with the people that you love, whether that be family, coworkers, friends, something here, and there might even be some strangers for some of you that just give you really good advice that makes you want to let go of something. But point being, I don't think you're going to be dealing with it all alone anymore. Even if it doesn't feel like a huge weight lifted off your shoulder and leaving the past completely in the past, maybe for some of you guys, it's a bit more of like finding people that understand, if that makes sense. So like maybe you have a certain coping skill that's not always like maybe you guys, for some of you, might disappear, right? Disappear off the face of the earth, stop talking to people entirely for days on end. Instead of having people in your sphere that get insecure with themselves and take that as something against them, like they did something wrong, you are either explaining it to those people so they don't get insecure about it, or you're finding people that once you explain why you do what you do, they understand that. They don't take it personally. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'll be here when you're ready to talk again. You kind of get what I mean with that? It feels like you are learning to let go of things that you've been through other people. And I'm not saying that it's going to be that peaceful for all of these. I do see some sort of karmic connections here that are more here to teach you a lesson than to provide peace. So what it might also be is that there are some people that help you release these burdens of the past by giving you a perspective shift that you need. Although I do think that by the end of this month, a lot of the shit is going to be cleared, and the people that you can trust are going to be clear. Does that make sense? I get this image of somebody like wiping bugs off their windshield. I think that's kind of the vibe that we're going through here, so we can see better on the road ahead. Like I said, I think that's going to come up through some sort of karmic connections here, but there's also a huge call for self-love within this time. A call to kind of like get back within some of your hobbies. I'm hearing move your body. For some of you guys, that might just be like gym routine, going for walks. For other of you guys, you're kind of being asked to have more fun with moving your body. If it feels like such a chore to go for a walk, if it feels like such a chore to go to the gym, dance around in your room a little bit. Go play with your pets. You know, there's other ways that we can be exerting that physical energy. But when you find yourself in these states where you're so anxious or you get pissed off because there's desire to, like, if things were going the way that they were in my head, it would just be so much easier. It would be so much calmer. Like, I shouldn't have to fight with this. When you're feeling that frustration, move your body. Get that extra energy out. Sorry, I'm like moving my body as I'm doing it. But getting that extra energy out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I do think that there is a call for self-love while also like there might be some sort of karmic connections that come through within this month. Is there anything else that I'm going to hear? You may or may not, if you're not receiving a message from the past, like a certain person, there might be some message that you've received in the past that you're going to take another look at and see with a clearer lens. Like, say somebody texted you something that just felt off to you. I think you're going to understand what that means now better. Or you might be getting signs and symbols from somebody from your past. So be wary of that, I guess. But I do think whatever this is from your past, you are going to see with a much clearer lens. Also, something about the wind whipping your hair. In this moment, you might try to convince yourself that it's just coincidence, but there's something so magic about this specific second that the wind decides to come out that it's going to be just undeniable. Anyway, we're going to leave those there, and we're going to go to the last part, which is social connections. So this is romance, this is friendships, this is coworkers. So sorry that everything keeps getting pushed aside. The fact that everything keeps moving right feels like, first off, like telling me that the story is moving on. There's something picking up here. I don't think this month is going to be very stagnant for you guys at all. This feels like a month where, like, things are going to happen. Not quite Eight of Wands energy, but I think it's like a consistent, like almost Knight of Wands, where it's like a consistent moving forward. Anyway, last thing that we have here, connections and love, relationships. The irony, bitch. The irony. So with relationships, the lesson that we have is I am attracted to those people who serve my higher good. And we were kind of talking about that when it comes to the soul too. So I do think that, like, I think a huge theme, first off, can we take a minute to appreciate the purples and yellows here? We are definitely seeing a development of self-worth and a development of your intuition here. But I think a common theme that we've been seeing here is something with boundaries with people. Not just... I feel the need to put out there too that just because you are not useful to somebody doesn't make you not useful. Just because you don't do something for somebody doesn't detract from your worth. Side note there. But I think that a common theme for this month is going to be social connection and relationships. Whether that be more, I do think you are going to be a little more social than you expect, but I do think that it's also going to be a lot of reflection over social connection. Sorry. I do also feel the need to put out there reflection. Do not let it turn into rumination, because rumination is just going to make the anxiety come back through again, and then we're going to have to shake our body to get it all out. I do want to add a little bit of a tidbit here that my therapist told me recently for my neurodivergent babes that also deal with trauma. To stop the rumination when we're reflecting, she was kind of talking to me about, stimulating the vagus nerve while doing a dopamine-inspired activity. Some examples, I would look up and research how to stimulate the vagus nerve if you're interested. But some examples she gave was like putting an ice pack on the back of the neck or doing some deep belly breathing while also doing an activity that kind of stimulates dopamine. So like, playing with a certain textured object, maybe like some sort of fidget toy or Connect Sand, Play-Doh, slime even, or watching a show that you like, reading a book, drawing a picture, coloring, whatever stimulates dopamine for you while also stimulating that vagus nerve kind of helps bring you back, stopping the rumination from taking over, if that makes sense. That was just a little tidbit there. Let's see. Like I said, this relationship's attracted to those people who serve my highest good. I feel like goes so much in tandem with the cards that we were just reading with the soul there. Like I said, that's really funny. So let's get the cards to see what else we can kind of... Also, this is making me think of Sempiternal. Bring me the horizon. Take that as it resonates. Queen of Wands in reverse. The World in reverse. I am feeling a bit of jealousy coming through here. Page of Pentacles. And the bottom of the deck we have the Eight of Pentacles. Starting off here, like I said, I am seeing some sort of insecurity and jealousy with the Queen of Wands in reverse. Although I do like to think that it's kind of similar to the King of Wands in reverse and the page that we saw earlier. So I'm not... this could be your energy, but this could also be an energy that's surrounding you. I do think it's a little bit of both. Not saying that even if you're feeling outwardly jealous or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're displaying it either. It's just kind of this sense of maybe there's somebody around you that you're envious of, but I do also get the idea that there are people that are envious of you. Understand the black cat here is to say that you are protected. It feels like there is a revisiting of some sort of karmic situation. That doesn't mean that it's the same person, but it's a lesson that I feel like you've been through before, if that makes sense. There is a call here to kind of find an internal stability, but I do think this is something that will make sense and kind of unfold as the month unfolds. Because I do get a little bit of this concept of possibly obsession when it comes to like being backstabbed. Like I said before, there might be some sort of betrayal wound with this group. But I could see it being one of those things where you're kind of like waiting for somebody to show their true colors. And it's that same lesson kind of being echoed of a watched pot never boils. It's the moment that you turn your back to these things that it kind of presents itself. I did want to put a side note here that if you do find yourself experiencing some sort of jealousy or envy, ask yourself what that means, rather than letting that emotion kind of sit through with you. A lot of times when we're envious or jealous, it's because somebody has something that we want, or we're threatened that somebody's going to take away something that we have that we want. And it's kind of this idea of like, I think I've said this in a reading before, this specific analogy, but if you find your friend, you know, singing karaoke on stage, getting all these applause, and you get envious of it, is it because you want the attention or because you want to sing on stage? Either way, you can have that for yourself as well. You just got to put in the time, effort, and energy, you know? And I think this is something that you guys have very well learned and have been working on, but I don't know if everybody in your sphere has that same mentality. Like I said, it feels like whatever is coming through here that kind of shakes up your anxiety, maybe causes a little bit of obsession, is something that you've dealt with before. And I do think to a degree that you are part of this jealousy. Part of this, or you have some jealousy here going on. Maybe this goes back to the control thing of like, well, if things just went the way that I fucking wanted them to. When this stems up, because I do think for some of you guys, this might be attachment styles and romance as well. Maybe there's a specific person you're trying to manifest or a specific situation. Move away from it. The bottom of the deck energy being the Eight of Pentacles is kind of telling me that like, focus on your craft and focus on other areas of your life. By craft, I mean like something like a project of some sort or something that you want to develop more on. Something you want to develop more. There's this idea that whatever it is here, whatever your craft is, so maybe it's a new skill you want to pick up, a class you want to take, or something that you want to create. Maybe it's something within your job. By the cycle of the next moon, so like from new moon to new moon or full moon to full moon, you could have completed this thing. And within that time, I think whatever situation here we want to have control over when it comes to relationships is going to make sense. I do think there is some sort of ending here that is coming through. I'm This could be platonic, this could be romantic, but it's some sort of clarity in a relationship of some sort that kind of makes you realize it's time to leave this current place that I'm at. It's time to leave this current position. Oh my god, my phone's at 5%. We gotta hurry up here. But it does leave you freer. I'm sorry, I'm pulling the bottom of the deck because it's kind of working out together. It does leave you freer, breaking through this cycle, understanding more about your shadow and your light, and using them in tandem together. And it does also lead you to soul family. If you're unfamiliar with the idea of soul family, it's those people that get us, those people that speak our language, those people that truly love us and don't hold all this resentment secretly, you know what I mean? But it is going to, like I said, the advice here is to focus on your craft, whether that be adapting to new skills or something you've currently been working on. But you are learning more of this balance. You are learning how to work with your anxiety rather than working against it and letting it run your life. You are learning how to find peace in other connections. So if you do struggle with attachment styles, I see you really working through it and finding more security within yourself within this month. And like I said, you might not meet them completely this month. You might find union with some of your soul family this month, but I do think that because of what happens within this month, the lessons that you learn, within 2-3 months tops, I could see you being united with soul family, if that makes sense. Also keep your girls close. Take that as you will. You know, I'm not trying to be gender specific here, but there's something about, there are people I think in your life right now that you can depend on. And I think you're going to realize just how much you have held yourself back from possibly a genuine connection that's in your life right now. But that's pretty much all I have for you. Like I said, time is running out for me, but time is not running out for you. Everything is unfolding just as it should. It's the moment that we let go of things, we turn away. Because if you can see here, she's kind of looking over her shoulder, but she's not going to be told to turn around until it's time. So, like, you might get little messages about whatever this situation is with relationships and connection as you're working on your tasks, and I think that's also to propel you to move forward in your craft, whatever it is. But that is all I have for you today. I hope this message helped. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, I've been doing this a lot. When you're anxious, go outside. I'm not saying you have to every time, but I do think that there are going to be certain moments where you're going to get called to go outside and be like, no, I don't want to. It's not worth it. It is so worth it. Just go outside. Take a deep breath, babe. It's all going to be okay. It's not that serious. All right, that is all I have for you today. If nothing else, thank you so much for staying for the reading, my friend. If you're interested in booking a personal reading with me, please go to the description below. Check out my website. I would love to work with you. You're going to conquer this month, no problem. Do not stress it. Take a big old deep breath for me right now. In and out. You're going to be just fine, my friend. You have a good one, all right? Love and light. Ooh.